which mic I have going on over here. Does it sound okay? It sounds loud. Welcome to the September 26, 2022 regular business meeting, public hearing of school board trustees held in public with a start time right on 6 o'clock this evening. If you may all rise, we're going to ask Mr. Angel to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you, Mr. Angel. Let's see. Item 2, we have patrons' comments.
Do you want to mention that Scott's online?
Yes, sorry, thank you. Before moving to item 2, we do have Mr. Smith is, I believe, at a tennis match, so he'll be trying to get here as soon as possible. And we do have Scott Babjack online with us this evening, so he'll be a part of our quorum for moving forward. Scott, you can hear us okay, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So item 2, patrons' comments. We do not have everybody registered to signed up to comment. We can move forward to item 3 is the public hearings. Let's see here. So request a motion to suspend the regular business meeting and open the public hearing on the budget. Do I have a motion to suspend the regular meeting?
Motion to suspend the regular business meeting and open the public hearing on the budget.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Angel and second by Mr. Babjack. All in favor signify by saying aye. I'll do a roll call. Scott Babjack? Do you have an aye, Scott, for a vote? Okay. Scott Angel?
Aye.
David Warning, aye. Motion carries 3-0. We'll now suspend the meeting and move forward to public hearing. And Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Warney, members of the board. Tonight we are holding the public hearing for the 2023 budgets. This is the first official action to take. There's no action tonight. It's simply the holding of the hearing. The budgets, Form 3 was advertised 10 days prior as required on Gateway, as well as posting of the capital projects plan and bus replacement plan. Dr. Tara, if you go to the next slide for me. In the 2023 budgets, you'll notice in 2022 total budget approved $106,811,000. For 2023, we're proposing $116,822,000. Obviously, with the growth in number of students and also a growth in assessed value, able to take advantage of some additional dollars without raising the tax rate very much, and you'll hear that a little bit later in the presentation. But you'll see all the funds up a little bit. Operations stays flat at $20 million. We are including the rainy day at $750,000. That's the additional appropriation we did earlier this year, and that revolves around the payment back where we borrowed from ourselves for the Chromebooks and textbook rental, and we're paying ourselves back into that rainy day fund from textbook rental throughout the year. We have the appropriation, we have those payments we need to make in 2023, so we've gone ahead and budgeted for it this year, not having to go through the additional appropriation process next year. On to the levies. On 2022, you'll notice we're raising $39 million. We raised $39 million in levy. In 2023, we're proposing $47.5. It's important to note both in the budgets, the levies, and the tax rates, as you both as veteran board members understand, that these are all inflated for 2023. We can't, these are the maximums we set. DLGF will only come back and reduce them to what we're legally allowed to raise. So we've inflated those a little bit, not anticipating having a levy of $47.5 million. Expect that to come down quite substantially probably. But you'll notice $8 million in referendum operating, $29 million in debt service, $10.5 million operations. Neither the rainy day fund or education funds have any levy attached to them, property tax levy. For our tax rates, 21 cents on the referendum operandum, same as 2022. Debt service rate, we're advertising 82.86. However, we fully anticipate that coming down to the 78 cents as talked about when we did the projects back in 2021. Operations fund, we expect to be at 30 cents. We're advertising 30. It'll be less than that once the AV gets adjusted and the tax rate brought down to our maximum levy and operations. But while we notice the total tax rate going up about 15 cents, fully anticipate that number not being that high. It'll come down probably somewhere in the mid 120s is what we would anticipate. For our 2023 capital projects plan, you can see the one capital acquisition we have planned. We do have 5 or 6 projects, capital in nature. It's important to note these are only purchases out of the operations fund. Obviously, none of the building projects we have going on now are being paid for out of operations. Therefore, there's no need to advertise them in the capital projects plan. That's only related to those expenditures over $10,000 coming out of operations. And as far as the bus replacement plan, you can see here the plan to replace 7 buses next year. Also included in the plan is a plan to buy 4 additional buses due to increased number of students and also anticipating some need for the redistricting potentially for some additional buses if that were to take place. This is simply the plan. Again, the maximum we can do. If we don't need 4 additional buses, we'll back that down to what we need. But we do have these 7 buses that need to be replaced, and all these buses are older than 12 years as required by law. That completes my portion of the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Before we move forward, are there any questions for Mr. Reese?
Just for clarification, Matt, can we go back to the first slide? Or, that one's fine. On the rough rating, that's, the 21 cents remains the same. That's just because of the fact we have that's based on assessed valuation. Of what we're
Correct.
allowed.
Correct. The 21 cents is the rate that we requested during the referendum for that fund. The 21 cents is the maximum we can raise, and because the assessed value is going up, that allows us to raise more dollars. So it's AV times rate equals your levy.
Just want to make sure for clarification purposes. Thank you.
I think I shared too, I can't remember where we heard it recently, that the AV across the city was up 8-9% in previous year. It was a 8 or 9% number, correct?
Yep.
Scott Babjack, any questions for Mr. Reese?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move forward to 3.3 are patrons' comments on the public hearing budget item, but we do not have anybody signed up to comment. So we can move to 3.4. We'll look for a motion to close the public hearing on the budget and open the public hearing on the additional appropriation. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing on the budget?
Motion to close that public
Yep.
hearing on the budget and open the regular meeting. Or, I'm sorry, public hearing on appropriations.
Motion by Mr. Angel, second by Mr. Babjack. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Scott Babjack?
Aye.
Scott Angel?
Aye.
David Warney? Aye. That motion carries 3-0. So now we will open the public hearing on additional appropriation, and that goes back to Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. The school corporation introduced last board meeting a project for $5 million to mainly expand the Winfield cafeteria last month, along with some other projects throughout the district. The school corporation is funding this project through the issuance of general obligation bonds. The proceeds from this bond issue must be appropriated prior to being spent on the project. Notice of this hearing was advertised in the local paper.
Thank you. Now we have the opportunity for patrons to comment on this public hearing and additional appropriation. We do not have anybody registered to comment, so we can move forward to 3.7, which is resolution 815, additional appropriation. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Warney. Resolution 815 is additional appropriation of $5 million, which we've advertised and held the public hearing for. Before any bond proceeds are spent on the project cost, that money has to be appropriated. Any of the bond money has to be appropriated by this board. Unlike the appropriations for tax dollars like we just went through at the budget hearing, this additional appropriation of bond proceeds is not required to be approved by the Department of Local Government Finance, just requires your approval. This resolution approves the $5 million bond proceeds to be spent on the projects.
Thank you. So for the recommendation to approve resolution 815 for additional appropriation, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Angel and second by Mr. Babjack. Any further questions or comments from Mr. Reese before vote? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Scott Babjack?
Aye.
Scott Angel?
Aye.
David Warney? Aye. Motion carries 3-0. And now 3.8. So do we have a motion to close the public hearing on additional appropriation and resume the regular business meeting? Do we have a motion to
So moved.
close the public hearing? So moved by Mr. Babjack
Second.
and second by Mr. Angel. All those in favor signify by saying aye. We'll do a Scott Babjack,
Aye.
Scott Angel,
Aye.
David Warney, aye. That motion carries 3-0. We'll now resume the regular business meeting.
Thank you for all your work and dedication on making sure all that fits all the protocols through the state and elsewhere. Mr. Reeves.
Thank you. Consent agenda, Dr. Terrell.
For your consideration this evening, we have 4.1, the regular business meeting minutes, 4.2, reoccurring grant for IDOE Leadership and Innovation Grant, 4.3, reoccurring grant for Secure and Safe Schools, 4.4, reoccurring grant for Title I Part A, and then 4.5, our personnel agenda, and 4.6, the voucher checks as listed.
Darn buttons, sorry. Thank you, Dr. Terrell. You've heard recommendation to approve the consent agenda as presented this evening. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's moved by Mr. Angel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Babjack. Questions or comments for Dr. Terrell before vote?
Just would like to say thank you to all the work behind the scenes to make sure these grants, first of all, filed, then obviously accepted, because just in this particular case, you're looking at $750,000, so.
Yeah.
Great appreciation to all those involved. Mr. Hardman, I know usually is top of that, along with the rest of the team that's involved, so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Scott Babjack? Scott, are you in favor of the consent agenda as presented by Dr. Terrell?
Yes, sir, aye.
Thank you. Scott Angel?
Aye.
David Warney? Aye.
We want to pause here. We want to recognize Marty Freeman is here with us tonight, who was just appointed as our Director of Transportation, and his wife Jen. So welcome to Crown Point. And Marty's coming to us from Lake Central School Corporation, has been there for many years. So look forward to Marty jumping in and getting busy with a lot of things we got coming up with our transportation department. So Marty, anything you'd like to say at all? Put you on the spot.
Sure, it'll just take a second, I'm very shy and awkward, so.
Step up here to the podium. We have tens of people watching.
There's a lot of great things going on at Crown Point School Corporation. It's a great day to be a Bulldog, and appreciate the opportunity.
Good deal. Thank you,
Thank
Marty.
you, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nice to meet you this evening. Also, as far as the personnel agenda, it lumped in there. Again, just think it's important to stress lots of new, names and hires, and the personnel agenda was lengthy with whether it be assistant coaches, and so again, compliment everybody involved in the hiring process from all levels, top to bottom, and thankful that we're able to fill these spots with what we believe to be great employees. So appreciate it. I think we can move on to action items. We have 5.1, approval to apply for and receive grant funds from the Crown Point City Foundation, grant for Solon Robinson Robotics Club. Mr. Hardman.
Thank you, Mr. Warney. The next two items are going to pertain to Solon Robinson and the initiation of their robotics program. I think that will then be the last school in the elementary schools that will have a robotics program. So this first one is a request from the Crown Point Foundation for funds to help support that. This has been common with all of our schools, that we've looked to the Crown Point Foundation for initial help with funding, and then we absorb the funding as we go forward with this. Seeking your approval this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Hardman. You've heard a recommendation to approve to apply for and receive funding in the amount of $2,818.99 from the Crown Point Community Foundation to support the Solon Robotics Club. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Angel and second by Mr. Babjack. Any questions or comments for Mr. Hardman? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Scott Babjack?
Aye.
Scott Angel?
Aye.
And David Warney? Aye. That motion is approved 3-0. Thank you, Mr. Hardman. 5.2, looks like we're going to be coming back to Mr. Hardman with approval to apply for and receive funds from the Tech Point Foundation grant, Use State Robotics for Solon Robinson.
This is another funding source that our programs have used to initiate their programming, and it's through Tech Point. In this case, we're looking at approximately, I gotta look at the amount. That's right. It's for a kit. That's right. It's for actual resources for the program instead of a funding amount. So this is from TechPoint, and they are really been good for us as far as getting our programs kicked off for the robotics grant. Seeking your approval tonight for to apply for and receive funding or receive resources, and I'm all confused, from the TechPoint Foundation.
Thank you. All right, I'll try to follow that up with you've heard the recommendation from Mr. Harmon to approve to apply for and receive TechPoint Foundation for Youth State Robotics Grant for Solon Robinson Elementary to cover one robot kit, team registration, and coach training and ongoing support for this season. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Babjack and second by Mr. Angel. Any questions or comments from Mr. Hardman? So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Scott Babjack? Scott Angel?
Aye.
And David Warney, aye, so that motion carries 3-0. Thank you again, Mr. Hardman. And now we got 5.3, Crown Point High School participation in the IGCL out-of-country field trip to Italy. Mr. Hardman.
Thank you very much. This evening, we're seeking your approval for Crown Point High School Latin students to go to Italy in 2023, June 13th to the 22nd. They do go as part of the Indiana Junior Classical League in the state of Indiana, and they have participated in this before. I believe this is the first time they'll be going since the situations that happened with the pandemic. Seeking your approval this evening for our students to go to Italy.
Thank you, Mr. Hardman. For the recommendation to approve the out-of-country field trip for Crown Point High School students to travel with the Indiana Junior Classical League to Italy, June 13th through 22nd, 2023. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Angel and second by Mr. Babjack. Any questions from Mr. Harmon? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Scott Babjack? Scott Angel?
Aye.
And David Warney, aye. That motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Mr. Hardman. And we go 5.4, out-of-country field trip to Germany and Austria.
Thank you very much. This trip going to Germany and Austria is sponsored by Candace Carey. She's a teacher, German teacher at Crown Point High School. I think what's unique about this trip that I'm asking you to approve this evening is Mrs. Carey is in a sense, the trip advisor. She's also the one that designs the trip with the students. She does not go through a company, and she has done this numerous times, and I think I alluded to that in the attachment that I gave to you. She actually did this just recently in 2022, this past summer, and took a group to Germany. So this evening, we're seeking your approval for a out-of-country field trip to Germany and Austria for high school students, June the 8th to the 21st of 2023.
You heard the recommendation from Mr. Hardman to approve the out-of-country field trip for Crown Point High School students to travel to Germany and Austria, June 8th through 21st, 2023. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Babjack and second by Mr. Angel. Any other questions for Mr. Hardman? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Scott Babjack?
Aye.
Scott Angel?
Aye.
And David Warney? Aye. That motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5.5, update policy 7540.02, the web content services and apps. Mr. Akiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board members, we'd like to present to you this evening policy 7450.02. This is a policy with our school corporation that limits what content, apps, et cetera, can be held on our server. And actually, it forces everything to be held on our server. However, as our curriculum has expanded over the years, in particular in journalism, we are requesting that we add an exception to this policy for curricular matters to have content sit outside our server where curricular demands would require us to do so. I think this really is truly driven from some of our journalism classes and how our journalism classes and opportunities and softwares are interacting with our server. I'll pause and see if Brooke Allen wants to chime in. Brooke, you want to add how am I doing right now? Doing great, okay, so Brooke is fine not speaking. What we are asking to get this underway right away, you can see the phrase that we would like to add in each of the particular areas of this policy to allow for exceptions to be made. We'd like to add the phrase, exceptions may be made with approval from the building principal for curricular needs. We think this needs to be done in a rapid fashion here to kind of unlock this for our students. So this evening, what we are requesting is that we waive the readings for this policy and get this approved tonight so that we can move forward with these exceptions as I've described.
Mr. Akiwa, before I take your recommendation, I just want to make sure we didn't, for the policy, I see 7540.02, and then in the recommendation, it's a 40.92. We have a.
Was there a typo in there?
Yes, I just want to make sure I read the proper one.
Yeah, so it would be 7540.02.
0.02,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation from Mr. Akiwa to approve, to waive the reading of the suggested update to policy 7540.02
Correct.
and approve the exception as presented.
So moved with approving the waiving of the reading?
Moved by Mr. Angel,
Second.
second by Mr. Babjack. And all those in favor, or first, do we have any questions or comments on the recommendation from Mr. Akiwa? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Scott Babjack?
Aye.
Brian, since you just got here, welcome. We'll finish this one off with Scott Angel
Aye.
and David Warney, aye. So that motion carries 3-0. We can move to 5.6 and say, welcome Mr. Smith to the meeting. We good luck on the, good luck on the match, or?
It's a rough go right now.
Playing the
Hoping for better.
playing the Munster Mustangs, right?
We are.
Last regular season match?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Struggle right now, so we'll see if it turns.
Well, we do have just a second, we do have some young observers this evening, anybody else or in the audience that are walking. We receive a packet of these agendas, so Mr. Smith has plenty of time to review everything that we've gone through already, and would have definitely spoke up if he had any issues before getting here, but just we only are allowed to vote with those in present. We just approved last fall, I believe, to allow our members who need to, for whatever reason, join through Zoom or remotely to be part of our quorum, so that's where we're picking up where we left off here. Now Brian will be involved and Mr. Smith will be involved in the rest of the meeting. Where are we here? Looks like 5.6, the final bond resolution, 816. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. This is your last action regarding the $5 million issuance of the bond, which we held the additional appropriation hearing for tonight. And also last month, you heard the project being introduced. This resolution approves the amount to be borrowed, the maximum term of the repayment, and the maximum interest rate. It also contains the details about the bonds and the form of the bond. The resolution also approves the form of the fifth supplement to Master Continuing Disclosure Undertaking and the Registrar and Paying Agent Agreements. The Securities Exchange Commission requires that a school corporation enter into a Master Continuing Disclosure Undertaking before it issues the bonds. The school corporation has entered into this type of agreement previously for the other bond issues you've done in the past. It basically requires the school corporation to agree to annually provide certain types of financial information to the SEC's EMMA database and provide notice of certain material events on a timely basis. With that, we recommend approval of Resolution 816 in the final form of the bond.
Thank you, Mr. Reese, for the recommendation to approve final bond resolution 816. Do we have a motion to approve?
Second?
Moved by Mr. Smith and second by Mr. Angel. Any questions or comments for Mr. Reese on bond resolution 816? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. I do not believe we need to do roll call anymore. I think that was something I'd heard in the past when we were just making a quorum to include the member on Zoom, but I think with the three of us here plus Mr. Babjack, we could just do as we usually do. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Scott. That motion carries 4-0. 5.7, construction management and design services, Bulldog Park Building. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. In our partnership with the city for the locker rooms, that would be in the second story of the building for the Bulldog Park, and our concession storage building, which would be on the first floor and face the current Colonel Wheeler football field track. The city started working with PBS for design of that building. PBS is a local architect and construction management firm. The agreement calls for the same percentage fee that both Gibraltar and Skillman agreed to for the larger building program we have moving forward. So with that, we recommend approval of the architect and construction management agreements with PBS for the shared building with the city of Crown Point.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Heard recommendation to approve the architect and construction management agreements with PBS for the shared building with the city of Crown Point. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Smith. Moved by Mr. Smith and second by Mr. Babjack. Any questions or comments for Mr. Reese on this, on the recommendation?
Would just like to add our thank you to the city for the work on this project, along with everything else that's been done to make this project eventually work. It's been in discussion for at least 2 years, I want to say, and took some time, but I'm glad everything and is finally coming to the forefront to get the project moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Reese, and looks like it's back to you, Mr. Reese, for 5.8 donation.
Thank you. As part of one of the bid packages coming up later in the agenda, the school corporation received interest in donating some dollars to the project. The donation is done through the Crown Point Athletic Booster Club. They are therefore donating that to the school corporation for part of that project. So we recommend approval of donation totaling $3 million from the Crown Point High School Athletic Boosters.
Heard a recommendation to approve the donation totaling of $3 million from the Crown Point High School Athletic Boosters. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Angel and second by Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments from Mr. Reese? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 4-0. And I guess I could have interjected with questions or comments, but obviously we're all very grateful and excited for the donation. And it's going to be exciting to see what's able to be done with, you know, what an opportunity for everybody. So thank you. 5.9, Eisenhower Elementary School, the bid package and additions, renovations, and related work project. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Warney, members of the board. On September 15th, we received 31 bids for 8 bid categories. This is for the expansion work at Eisenhower Elementary. With that, I'm not going to go through each of the bids, and I'll give you the total dollar amount. The total amount for the bids is $6,318,803. We have either worked with every contractor on this, or Skillman, our CM, has. Feel very comfortable with the ability to complete the work as requested. I will also note that Mr. Katsouris is here from the Skillman Corporation if you have any specific questions on this or the next two next agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. All right, I'll get through the details. Thank you, Mr. Reese, for recommendation to approve the contracts for Eisenhower Elementary School additions, renovations, related work project as follows. We have site work and general trades to Gary Up and Construction, amount of $2,704,500. For masonry to Kwiatkowski Masonry Incorporated, in the amount of $458,500. For roofing to EC Babilla, in the amount of $335,406. For the metal studs, drywall ceilings to Goff Incorporated, in the amount of $609,000. For casework to Lee Company, in the amount of $182,850. For plumbing to Reichelt Plumbing, in the amount of $270,900. For mechanical to Gatlin Plumbing and Heating, in the amount of $1,312,440. And for electrical to Sargent Electric, in the amount of $446,207, for a total of $6,318,803. We have a motion to approve that bid recommendation. Moved by Mr. Smith.
Second.
Second by Mr. Babjack. Any questions for Mr. Reese or Mr. Caceres representing Skillman in the audience this evening?
Dion, when's the target date for completion of this project?
Great question. So for Eisenhower, July 28th of next year, with the exception of the chiller. So the lead time for the chillers right now are around 48 to 52 weeks. Plus, you're not going to take the chiller, which provides your air conditioning, offline until October of next year. So between October 15th through end of December, that's when we'll make the chiller change. But the remaining portion of the project will be complete by end of July of next year.
Great, thank you.
And just general for the public, what
4 classroom additions to the south. Really, it would be the southwest corner of the building, and then 6 classrooms out to the east where the Gaga pit's at. And then we're also, I mentioned the chiller, and then we're adding a stage. You know, goal being to make all the buildings fair and equitable across the district. If you've ever been in that building between the cafeteria and the gymnasium, there's a space in there that we're going to convert into a stage.
Good questions.
When you mentioned the fair and equitable, we were at a coffee conversation with Dr. Terrell a few weeks back, and some of the questions came up about even to the detail of many of the entryways, or all the entryways are trying to be to represent Crown Point and that view of Crown Point, whether you're entering MacArthur, Timothy Ball, or whatever. And I think that was the first time I had heard that. I mean, you know, we've had a lot of information passed around about that, but that's the level of detail that's taking place, to brickwork and just representing Crown Point across from east to west there. So I thought it was interesting. We're sharing.
Really exciting.
Any other questions? Sure, we're gonna have.
Is Taft finished yet?
Close, a few more months.
So the question was, is Taft finished yet? Yeah, it's a few months, he says.
All right, cool.
Well, while we still have you up here, let's make vote, and then we'll move to the next item. But at this point, all in favor of recommendation as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. And then we'll go to 5.10, the Crown Point Community School Corporation bid package, athletic turf improvement project. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Warning, members of the board. On September 20th, we received 2 bids for one bid category. The one bid category is site work and athletic fields. The low apparent bidder is Goff Incorporated at $5,215,000. We recommend approval of the contract for the Crown Point Community School Corporation Athletic Turf Improvements Project for the site work and athletic fields of the Goff in the amount of $5,215,000.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. You've heard the recommendation to approve the work to Goff for $5,215,000. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Angel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Babjack. Any questions or comments for Mr. Reese or Deanne from Skillman before we move forward with the vote?
Has anything changed as far as warranty now, on being that turfs have improved over the years? Or are we still around the 20-year?
It's 10 years, but the length of the turf actually lasts closer to 12 years now, as long as you groom it. And just having conversations with your athletic director, they do that on a regular basis. Your grounds crew does that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
is Goff the same contractor we use for the football fields turf? Does anybody know?
Yes,
They are.
same contractor.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And we go to 5.11, 5.11, the Crown Point High School bid package, athletic fields and site improvement project. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Warning, members of the board. On September 13th, we received 15 bids over 5 bid categories. Part of this bid is part of the $3 million donation that you just approved earlier in this meeting. There are 4 bid categories. I'll be happy to read through these. We recommend approval of the contracts for the Crown Point Community Schools projects. Let's see here. For the high school athletic fields and site improvement projects, site work and general trades, the Goff in the amount of $7,335,000. Masonry to Adams Masonry in the amount of $1,860,000. For plumbing mechanical, the Key West Mechanical, $323,300. And for electrical, to MCOR Higher Electric in the amount of $1,189,500 for a total package of $10,707,800.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. You've heard that recommendation to approve these contracts, and the total amount as stated to the individuals is $10,707,800. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Smith
Second.
and second by Mr. Babjack. Any questions or comments on the bid package for athletic fields and site improvement project? If not, thank you for joining us for any questions that may have come up, Steve. We always appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right, move on to information items. Got superintendent discussion groups. Mr. Hoffman usually gives us updates of anything taking place in the city. And with him not being here this evening, we'll just wait for the next meeting to catch up on anything unless, well, I will mention that if anybody didn't get a chance to watch Dr. Terrell and the Lay of the Land podcast, we got a little bit of a review of what's going on. So thank you, and from me as a board member, appreciate you going on there and sharing with the community what was taking place with us, and kind of kicking back and forth. That was good. It's a nice opportunity to kind of get to know Numera a little bit too through this podcast. Anybody like to offer anything that they're aware of taking place in Crown Point? And if not, Mr. Smith, anything happening in Cedar Lake?
I'm not aware of it.
Okay, let's move forward to the Director of Elementary Education, Ms. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I would just like to take this opportunity to thank our specialists who are working to support our elementary teachers, staff, and administrators. They really work in partnership, and these roles have been paramount. They've been added over the past 2 years and really are driving the work that we're doing, and it's exciting to think about the future that they will have had a hand in. And so I'd like to thank Amy McAllister, Joe Bisick, Annie Vassar, Susan Valentine, and Anna Retzlaff for their roles. They truly are a collaborative team as well, and so it really has just been a great enhancement to our elementary structure.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Ramirez, I'd also like to share something that came away from the coffee and conversation with Dr. Terrell. Was I thought it was rewarding sitting there as a board member and hearing that there were some conversations taking place amongst possibly teachers. I don't remember the detail of it, but essentially what they were saying is that they're being asked to be a little bit more uniform across our 7 elementaries. And that's sitting there. I think that's something that it's a big task that all of you are trying to tackle. It's kind of, like I said, rewarding to sit there as a board member and hear some comments about maybe it's not easy, but the work is taking place to try to get there. So thank you. It's something that we've all talked about in the past.
Thank you very much for sharing that feedback. It has been a lot of hard work, and I think that there have been some uncomfortable conversations.
Sure, right. Not all the comments might be perfect, right? But
No.
it's the idea of accomplishing a goal.
Yes,
aligning,
and I do
so.
believe everybody is very committed to a common curricular experience for our students, and that's what we want to be able to provide, that regardless of the school that the student is going to, that they have a common curriculum and that their teachers are working together. We have established our district-wide PLCs by grade level so that teachers are meeting together. And again, these specialists really work in all of our buildings, and so they are able to help drive the alignment that the administration is seeking. So thank you for that feedback.
Thank you.
Mr. Warney, as I've been in buildings the last few days, it's really neat to go from a first grade classroom to a first grade classroom to a first grade classroom and see how they all put their own individual spin on it, but they're at the same place with the same type of lesson and what they're covering. It's been really good. So again, that CKLA curriculum is hard work by our teachers and support staff, but they're doing a great job with it. So thanks again.
Thank you. Director of Secondary Education, Mr. Dean Fermi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board members, I have a couple items. Let me start with the Crown Point High School graduation rate. Every year we celebrate our graduation ceremony, and we kind of think that's the end, but really the calculation of the graduation rate goes on all the way till October, beginning of October every year. This year, our Crown Point High School staff was put under the gun by the state by being audited, randomly being selected to be audited for this graduation rate. And after all that, we still came out 98.3% graduation rate. And when you consider that cohort and the 3 years that they endured getting there. That was really a great job by all our teachers and staff that worked with those students. And again, a big thank you, Mr. Marcinek and his staff at the high school for getting them across that finish line and doing all that hard work. So really proud of that graduation rate. And number two, last Wednesday, September 22nd, our corporation, all our staff and teachers had the opportunity to participate in a standard reunification practice. Standard reunification being if we ever have to remove a population of our students from a building and take them to an off-site location or a different school and get them back with their students because of an incident or an emergency at the building, we have a team of about 70 corporation people that are on that reunification team. And there's a process in which we use in which we would reunify those students with their parents. So our teachers and staff graciously took the role of either parent or student, and we separated them apart, and we did about 400 reunifications with secondary staff in the morning, and then in the afternoon, the elementary folks came, and we did that all over again, and we got better in the afternoon. So a really great experience for our teachers and staff through the lens of safety, and I think everybody participating in that event is that much more prepared in case we ever have to do that. So big thank you for all of them and their willingness to participate in that.
Mr. Gianfermi, I think we've been told as a board before, but I heard the question when this was taking place. You have some locations that you have a few different options of reunification, but those aren't necessarily locations that need to be shared with
Correct.
the pub. Yeah, so I mean, it has come up with where and why. It's like, no, yes.
Our own buildings and some
Yes,
community members
yes,
willing
but
to
there's a
help
reason
us,
why
and-
you
Yeah,
all know and not everybody.
could be a very fluid situation where whatever's available. But it's been great working with the community and our first responders as well as we all kind of continue to plan just in case we ever need it.
Okay. Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Harmon.
Yes, to continue on the theme that Mark just spoke on, September 21st was our first asynchronous learning day, meaning that the students had lessons prepared by their teachers to accomplish while they were at home. It takes a lot of preparation for that to occur so that it works well for our students, and that allows our teachers, our staff, to participate in professional development such as safety. PLC work, as Mrs. Ramirez spoke to, where they can work together as a team. It takes time to accomplish that and to do it well. And would like to compliment Mrs. Ramirez and Mr. Gianfermi, Mrs. Pascas, our team principals for accomplishing that. So that was our first of 4 that we have. We have another one coming up on November the 9th. That'll be the second one this semester. Second thing I'd like to point out is as we continue to work on towards a unified system of instruction, connecting our programming together, such as special education, English language learners, high ability, maybe you might call it a regular curriculum. And this was highlighted within the audit that took place. We started another course tonight, actually, with approximately 111 staff members as they lead their schools and our team towards including all students in the curriculum and in education, and looking for a universal design for learning in the corporation for the betterment of each and every student. So that kicks off our 3rd or 4th course, I believe, now that we've been in, that we have engaged in through a group called Lead Inclusion, and this is a international group that is coordinating and facilitating these courses and meetings that we have. The last thing I wanted to point out tonight is we're looking forward to our first Learn Academy that's going to be taking place this fall. That's where our teachers teach our teachers. And we've sent out a survey today that went out to just kind of identify what are the key objectives that our teachers are looking for and would like to have professional development on, and see how others are doing it in the classroom. And we had 111 respondents so far out of about 500 staff, so we have about 20%. So I think this is pretty good data that we've got. And I'm just going to read to you the 5 things that are highest on the list right now. And these are not in the highest of lowest, they're just in the mid. First thing is universal design for learning. to meet student needs, which I just talked about, to have a design that every student can be able to have their needs met. Strategies to be positive when challenges are all around. You know, I'm reflecting on this because I know that Dr. Terrell has had us read books, and we've talked about, and we're actually reading a devotional right now. It's a form of a devotional on positive leadership. Well, as I was thinking about that and thinking about our staff, and I had some comments from other staff, that the positivity with all the challenges are not just something about leadership, it's about our staff also. And it's interesting that that was one right now that's one of the top 5 that we're looking at. The other next one was using engagement strategies to engage or re-engage students, always trying to seek the best for our students so that they're engaged in their learning. Fourth one would be strategies, tips, techniques for challenging behaviors in the classroom. And then the last one that I'll read is, as you know, we've spent $3 million on clear touch panels, interactive panels. So there is definitely a need to have additional, they want to see how other teachers are using the tool. And that's what will be used then as we create, and hopefully we'll have some teachers in the school corporation that will say, well, I do this, and I'd like to share what I do with others. And those will be kicked off probably end of October, November, that we'll have those courses. So it's exciting to see what the teachers are wanting, and now the goal is to fulfill what those needs are coming up this fall.
Mr. Robert, can you,
Yeah.
I know you said that those are just 5 of the leading.
Yeah.
And then how many, when you look for a total, when it's all said and done, how many might you have? Sorry, I might have missed that.
How many might we have?
Yes.
We might have 6 to 7 objectives, and then the next level is, we say these are the things we'd like to see people share
At the Learn Academy.
at the Learn Academy, and then teachers submit their requests to me as to what courses they would like to provide for our teachers.
As a part of professional development, there may be a topic that has come up over the last year that I'll share with you tomorrow, if you don't mind, or
Oh, sure.
whatever, just to
Absolutely.
see if it's on the list, or
Yeah.
what am I saying? Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Mr. Harmon, are you finished?
I'm finished.
Thank you. Business office, Mr. Reese?
I'm happy to speak. I don't have anything this evening. You've heard enough from me. I just might want to point out you miss Mr. Akiwa, Human Resource Officer.
Oh, that's, yeah, good. Nice correction there. So when I said Chief Human Resource Officer, Mr. Reese, clearly I misspoke, Mr. Akiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President. 2 things I just want to offer up this evening. First is our check-ins with our new teachers. We are visiting each of the school buildings to check in with all of our new staff members. We'll be out at Winfield tomorrow morning, heading out to the East Coast. I want to thank Jeremy Walker, Susan Valentine, and Annie Vassar, because they're part of my meetings as we go in the morning just to check in with our new staff. And when I say check in, it really truly is are you okay? How are we doing? You know, how are we feeling right now? And I just want to congratulate our principals, staff members, mentors that are working with the teachers, because overwhelmingly what we're hearing, and this is a theme year in and year out, but they feel like they're a part of a family, supported. They have go-to people at their building. If they need help, they've got individuals they can lean on, and which is very important. And these are not just rookie teachers, but they're also experienced teachers that have joined us for the first time. So I just want to thank all the staff members out there that are making our new teachers feel welcome and a part of our family here in Crown Point. I'm going to just head over to Mr. Gianfermi here and just pass some kudos to Mark. I don't quite think people understand what a big undertaking it was for him to organize this school corporation-wide drill. We've been talking about this drill now for the better part of 7 years, and training, organization, coordination. For Mark to put together what he did with the help of Dave Colson and our responders and whatnot, and all of our folks that are part of the team there that supported that effort, Mark, I just want to say thank you, and just an outstanding job, buddy, for getting us to that point to actually go through that. And as he said, in the moment, from drill 1 to drill 2, reunifying people, we improved within 2 hours. So I just want to take this moment and let everybody know that we're fortunate to have Mark leading up our safety efforts here in Crown Point Community School Corporation.
Thank you. And to confirm, Mr. Reese, you do not have anything. Okay. We'll go to Director of Communications, Ms. Allen.
Thank you. Our coffee and conversation events have been well attended so far this year, which is really encouraging. We had 40 individuals at our first one and 30 at our second. Our third is on October the 6th, Thursday, October 6th, at 9:30 at the library again. And because of some scheduling conflicts, we had to cancel our November one, but we will look ahead to second semester and schedule some more for later in the year. Just gets a little bit messy trying to reschedule around Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Thank you. Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Terrell.
First thing this evening I'd like to bring to your attention is our ambassador program. We've talked about that for a couple of years, trying to get that kicked off, and Ms. Allen's done a great job moving that forward. And we will have our first ambassador group here Wednesday morning, and we'll provide breakfast for them, and then we're actually going to do a little update on our construction projects, and Mr. Reese is going to talk through the finances of that. And then we're going to take that group out to the new Taft and actually give them a tour of the new building. And again, this group is really designed, our intention is for them to be able to gather information, to be able to share that information with other people as they go through. So we've had, how many do we have apply? We have 15 people who will be a part of this. So if you guys feel free to come by Wednesday morning if you'd like. Breakfast is always good. And we'll be served at 7:40, I believe, and then we'll start our program right about 8. So please feel free to be a part of that if you'd like. Like to also just point out the progress on our current projects. You know, we live in a time where you hear about other corporations having to postpone projects because of either being way over budget or not being able to secure materials. Our projects are all on schedule, if not a little bit ahead, coming in right at budget or just barely over. And I'm glad Dion stuck around because I put all that on Dion. He does an amazing job, he really does. And I know he's back there going, yeah, whatever. No, he does. And keeping all of those projects moving forward. And it's the really cool thing, and Brooke's gonna highlight this in a little bit, in a few weeks here. So many of those people live here in our district and are part of our community. So it's just really, really cool to be out. The spirit on the job sites is upbeat, and it's just exciting to see what's going on there. Last one, just want to remind you, before I go, on last week, we also were able to take all of the teachers and staff members from Taft out to the new Taft and walk through it, and spent 45 minutes to an hour probably out there, and heard a lot of oohs and ahs, and it was a lot of fun to see their reactions as the excitement. We're excited every time we go out there and see it, but for their first time seeing it was really, really rewarding. So they're looking forward to it for sure. Last one, just a reminder, we have the school board conference coming up. Look forward to all of that with you, and I've got some details about some of the different things that we'll be involved with that as well that I'll share with you guys after the meeting too. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Terrell. About other business, Board of School Trustees, do we have any other business to discuss this evening? Anybody? Well, if anything comes to mind, I think we can move forward to board statements of appreciation and recognition. If anything comes to mind, we could catch it there. I will say one thing while we were, Mr. Harbin, you were talking about in your thoughts to us. One thing about the standardized tests, I just heard the other day that, because I think some of the reports are now coming home, showing parents how their student may have done versus the district and nationally. Somebody explained to me that, and it wasn't a Crown Point teacher, that when they take that test, that it's now smart enough to challenge the student or to back off, where they might start with 2 + 2, and if they get that right, they go to 2 × 2, and then 2 ÷ 2, and it keeps working up that way, or if they do get something wrong, it'll work back in the other way. I thought that was really interesting. Do you believe to be true?
If they're referencing the NWA, which is the assessment that we give beginning, middle, and end of the
Yes,
year,
yes.
it does do that. It's an adaptive test, and based on the responses of the students, it will either take them to a higher level or lower it. It's trying to narrow down where exactly they are. And we get recording to see actually by standard where students are at. It gives us an indication of where to meet that student at.
Yeah, not that all of us parents need to understand that, but I thought it was really neat to hear and understand. And one of the positives of taking a test electronically where it could adapt to the way you're answering questions, or maybe I should have just known and I didn't, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
I want to know when they invent an IQ test like that, because then I take one.
Stepping up for you, off the charts. Okay, so we'll go to board statements, appreciation, recognition. If we think of anything else, please just go ahead. Start with Mr. Smith.
Yeah, my statements probably actually are more on other business of the board now that I think about it, but that's okay. So just going along with the touchscreens that Mr. Hardman had identified and spoke of earlier this evening, I had an opportunity to walk through the open houses a few weeks back when school first began, both for the middle school and the high school. And, you know, you're seeing these enormous screens, and, you know, I started asking the teachers, how do you like it? You know, what's going on? And of course, half of them were like, oh, I love it. I just boom, 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 here, let me come show you. I mean, they're just ecstatic. The other half, like, it's a lot, you know, it's an adjustment. The good news is my sons came home the other day and said, Dad, all my teachers are loving this now. They're all on board, and they're just like, they're fully engaged. So I think you're going to hear great things. And of course, you know, there's so much more to learn, but it seems like they're just adjusting with time, and it's exciting. So the students love it. I know my children love it. It seems like the teachers are adjusting to it and really coming around. So I thought I'd share that. Second, I think we have fall break coming up before we meet again, which is a full week. So I know getting the year started was rough with people didn't want to go back to school early, but hopefully now they enjoy the full week's break that comes next month. So just want to wish you guys all, I hope you have a safe week. And then lastly, to Mr. Giaffermi, I remember, and I'm feeling old because I remember that conversation 7 years ago when we talked about security when I first came on the board, and how we emphasized that, and really, like, we really want to tie down a plan and a process. And so it's always, I mean, I can't even imagine as we started, there wasn't much there, if I recall, and just to build it from scratch and to do it the way you've done. And I mean, obviously, security is our #1 priority and always has been. So I too want to commend you on your work and your effort and everybody that sewed into that. So great job. It's really exciting to see that come to fruition. So well done.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Babjack, over to you. Any board statements of appreciation, or would you like to discuss anything, other business?
I'm good tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Angel.
First, I'd like to acknowledge our troop that's here this evening, witnessing this meeting, and from pre-meeting talk, they have to do a report, so good luck with that. But there are minutes available, so in case you didn't get down some of the important notes, you can go on the website and grab those minutes off there soon, right, Diana? That's how soon are the minutes posted? If they just got to be approved, so, okay. So there's your homework assignments for the next time you come, so. But thank you for attending. We know you probably could be doing a million other things tonight, so, especially with the thumbs up from that gentleman, yes. So, and then the other thing I have tonight is to thank St. Matthias Church. There's a written statement, but I'd rather say this from just the heart. They have been more than cordial with our building projects going on at the high school, whether it be football events on Friday, to where if you were there for the Lake Central game, that lot filled up probably half hour before kickoff. So to all those involved from St. Matthias, from their leadership, the church members obviously have to be accommodating, knowing events are going on there while some of our events are going on. So we just like to say thank you for that partnership and working with us during this time. We do value those, and thank everybody involved from that church for their cordial agreement and helping us out in a time of need. Absolutely. So thank you. I think that's all I have, other than mentioning that personal experience from having a new teacher in the house, living with myself and my wife, to what Mr. Akiwa mentioned, no issues of stress or anything, and I would think that's vitally important, knowing that he's getting exactly what he needs as a first-time teacher on a daily basis, and mentioning that everybody is there to help, and when issues of discipline or whatever it may be, everybody's there to help out in whatever way they can. So that just, I think, kind of says the kind of environment that we welcome in newbies, so to speak, and don't just let them fly on their own, and that we're there to help them every which way. So thank you on that part from a personal experience on that.
Thank you, Mr. Angel. For myself, I think, so Mr. Freeman joined us this evening as of November 1st, Director of Transportation. You need to know that Mr. Akiwa will be referring to you as one of his big four. So when you hear that, you're now one of the big four, which is kind of cool. Also, I think I could have mentioned earlier, we wish Ms. Vasquez well in retirement. So, it's, we gave a notice, and luckily to have filled that position, but wish her nothing but the best in retirement if we don't get to see her in person between now and then. So, in my head, Mr. Kiwa helped me out a little bit here. Went back and forth if I want to say anything or not, but I want to, because this individual has been played such an enormous role in many Crown Point students' lives, and involvement and love for the school corporation. And he's experiencing some bad health as late as last weekend. I haven't had any updates on how he might be doing, but Mr. Caravana, I hope you all just put him in your thoughts. Positive energy doesn't hurt, and that's why, as I debated whether or not to say anything, I think it's important to share that positive energy and have him in your thoughts, and wish him the best in his recovery. So, that's all I have. Anybody else want to chip in before we go to adjournment?
Just well said on Mr. Caravan, as he also served time as a board member, and so I was able to get to know him on a personal level, so prayers and blessings are with him in his recovery.
Served time as a board member.
Yeah, it's not prison time, it's board time.
That sounds so pleasurable.
I'm pretty sure all our guests tonight realize they don't want to be school board members.
Yeah. Okay, if we don't have anything else, I would motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Angel and second by Mr. Smith. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Scott.
See you guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Scott. See ya.